Hi, friend. How are you? This message is for anybody who, at any time, no matter when you're watching this, for those who are feeling perhaps a little overwhelmed, perhaps you're feeling a little bit uncertain, maybe you're feeling like you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to trust, you don't know what is real, what is illusion. Maybe you feel like you had it and then you lost it. Maybe you feel like you've never had it and you're wondering if you'll ever find it. Suffice it to say, there's a lot happening right now in our collective human experience. No matter where you turn, no matter where you look, no matter what belief system you invest yourself in, no matter what you believe to be true, I think it's safe to say that all of us are feeling a squeeze right now. It's a lot right now. It's a lot. And that's okay. Even though it might not feel like it's okay. And I know right now there's a lot of people out there telling us to become harder, become tougher, to become more aggressive, to become more defensive, to become more protective of our values and our beliefs and what we think is important and is true. And there's nothing wrong with being passionate about what we believe. There's nothing wrong with wanting to stake a claim. But right now, I don't think hardness and rigidity are the answer. Right now, I don't think defensiveness and reflexive, reactive behavior is the answer. So if you're interested in perhaps another way, I invite you to listen. I'm going to read you a real quick entry that I shared on my newsletter today. If you're interested in signing up for my newsletter, there's a link in my link tree on my Instagram profile, or if you're watching this on YouTube, then it's going to be in the description below. And this is just an offering of perhaps another way to see things, perhaps another way to maneuver through the world. More than anything, perhaps this is a way where you can find some peace, you can find some ease, and even maybe some clarity in times that are anything but clear. So I'm going to read you this entry from my newsletter. It's a lot right now. There are times in this human experience where it seems like a monumental effort just to make it to the end of the day without totally losing one's shit. This definitely feels like one of those times. What is one to do when it all seems to be piling up from every direction between the eclipses, the astrological alignments, and various and sundry portals? There's always something vying for our focus and our attention. Not to mention the fact that most of us in some way also seem to be going through an existential identity crisis of monumental proportions. Pile on the continuing political charades, the global crises, the celebrity scandals, and it's enough to make anyone feel like they're about to break. So what is one to do when there seems to be little, if any, relief? I guess that depends on who you ask. Some would tell you to take the path of force and control. They would inform you to put up your blinders and stubbornly refuse to relent or acquiesce to anything until a very narrow and specific set of circumstances or requirements arrive. Another tack would be to melt into a puddle of passivity, choosing to deny one's sovereign authority until some outside influence either saves you or forces you into action. Yet another option would be to turn your experience into an endless path of seeking and searching, running off on countless wild goose chases in search of yet another healing modality or nugget of wisdom that will suddenly make sense of it all. You could try any of the above. No doubt you'd find value of some sort in trying on all of those perspectives. However, speaking from experience, I can tell you that none of the above approaches are sustainable over the long term. What I have found to be the most effective in times of radical transformation and expansion, in fact, the only thing that ultimately works, is to soften yourself to life. In a time where we can't go for 5 minutes without one group or individual calling for the destruction of another group or individual, the answer is to soften yourself. When it seems that the only choice you have is to turn those you've never met into a mob of enemies who are out to get you, you can decide to soften yourself. There are those who will not rest until everybody is at odds with somebody. Don't take the bait of turning your neighbors into adversaries. Choose to soften yourself. Refuse to become rigid and inflexible. Disallow your body as a space where the illusions of separation and denial can be nurtured and cultivated to take root. Insist that the choice of what you believe or not will be informed by your lived experience, not what some lying puppet on the evening news was commanded to tell you. To be soft is to be fluid and flexible. To be soft is to allow the constant and infinite reminders from the higher self about your inherent worth and value to take up space in your body. To be soft is to be receptive to spirit, God, the universe, all that is, and to allow yourself to be exalted. To be soft is to invite the reshaping and reforming of you into your divine image. Here's the thing. The moment you consciously declare to yourself that your being, both physical and metaphysical, is no longer available as a space to foster, foment, and nurture untruth, you begin to reorient yourself in your divine image. Ultimately, softness, just like denial, judgment, resistance, fear, and belief, is a choice. The difference is that to choose softness is to choose freedom. Rigidity and inflexibility are not hallmarks of one who is free, are they? At first, it might not seem like choosing to remain soft and flexible is deliberate or on purpose. Most likely, it will feel a bit forced or fake it till you make it, and that's okay. In fact, in the beginning, it will probably feel really weird to not be in a constant state of defensive action. In fact, it might feel really gross and totally unnatural to be open and receptive. It only feels gross because most of us were taught in some way that it's wise to be fearful, suspicious, and defensive. However, just like you learned to align yourself with the comfortable familiarity of resistance, you can also unlearn it. This is the point. Once you remember that your state of being is always a choice, life morphs from an endless journey of seeking into one of remembrance and allowing. The more often you consciously choose your state of being, the more often you'll remember to consciously choose it. The more you choose it, the more natural the choice becomes. Over time, the deliberate choosing of your preferred state goes from something that you have to think about and simply becomes more of an autonomic default state. Just like your current state of being was learned, you can also learn how to be in your preferred state. Regardless of what is currently going on in your life, you can choose right now, if you prefer, to soften yourself to your life. Simply pause, close your eyes, take a deep breath, exhale fully, and soften. Scan your body for any rigidity or tension and breathe into it. Then exhale and soften. Become curious about this moment. Let it come just a little bit closer. Keep breathing. Now soften a bit more. Keep it up. Let life in. Let it close. It only asks you to be curious and willing, so keep going. Of course, you don't have to let life in, but what's the alternative? That's not a rhetorical question.